Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by ancient forests and misty mountains, there lived a woodcutter named Thomas. He was a simple man with calloused hands and honest eyes. He lived alone, in a wooden cabin he had built with his own hands. Everyone respected him for his strength and his silence, but few knew of the emptiness he carried in his heart. Thomas had once had a daughter, Grace, skin the color of fresh soil, gentle as the honey he collected in the late afternoons. But Grace had vanished one stormy night when she was still a child. They said the forest had taken her. They said it was fate. Thomas, however, never believed that. Every day he entered the forest, he chopped wood, and he listened to the wind, the birds, and the whispers among the leaves, as if the forest itself held secrets it refused to share. Years passed. Thomas's face wrinkled, but his heart held firm to one promise. He would never stop searching for his daughter. One winter morning, when the ground still breathed fog and the silence weighed heavier than the cold, Thomas found something unusual. A girl, sitting on a thick root, barefoot, her eyes wide. She couldn't have been more than 10. Her skin was pale, her hair black as coal. "Are you lost?" he asked, kneeling gently. She didn't answer. She only looked at him, a deep gaze far too old for such a young face. Thomas held out his hand. The girl took it. "Come, my cabin isn't far." In the days that followed, Thomas cared for her. He called her Snow for her snow-like skin. She didn't speak, but she understood everything. Slowly she smiled, and when she smiled, it seemed the firelight changed color. Thomas began to feel something that had long slept, hope. Snow followed him into the forest. She watched, touched the trees with care. There was something in her, something of the woods themselves. But not all was peace. On the third night, Thomas dreamed of Grace, his lost daughter. She cried among the trees, begged for help, and pointed to Snow as if accusing her. Thomas woke up in a cold sweat. Time passed, and with it, doubt grew. Snow was kind but strange. She never fell ill, never felt cold. Sometimes she vanished for hours without a trace. A farmer swore he saw her speaking to a deer. A child said she walked barefoot on ice without flinching. Then, one silent night, Thomas heard it. Not the wind, not the branches. A voice. "She is not your daughter." Thomas froze. The fire went out on its own. Snow stood at the door. Her eyes glowed like amber. "I never said I was," she spoke for the first time. Her voice was sweet, but ancient, like a river that had flowed for centuries. "Who are you?" Thomas whispered. "I am part of the forest. I was sent, because you called, for many years." And the forest at last answered. He stepped back. "And Grace?" Snow lowered her gaze. "Grace is gone, Thomas. The forest tried to protect her, but time does not forgive." The world crumbled around him. He wanted to scream, but could only weep. "Then why did you come?" "Because your love never ceased. Because your pain cried out for so long it reached the roots and woke the trees. They created me, so you wouldn't be alone." Silence. The fire lit itself again. Thomas looked at Snow, and for the first time saw that she wasn't a replacement. She was an answer. The next morning he took her back into the forest. They walked together to the oldest tree, where the mist seemed to breathe slower. Snow turned to him. "I can stay if you wish." Thomas shook his head. "I can't carry ghosts anymore, nor shape love into forms that don't belong to it." She smiled and hugged him. As she let go, she was no longer a child. She had become wind, leaf, the scent of damp earth, and she vanished. Thomas returned to his cabin, collected honey, lit the fire, and for the first time he didn't feel empty, because he understood that love is not about holding on. It's about letting pain bloom into something new. It was then that he understood the true nature of love.